Hey everybody, I'm Robyn from GrillGirl.com and GrillGirl magazine, which is coming out on newsstands probably by the time everybody sees this. You will see it out on the shelves of your local grocery store. And today I have a special guest, Derek Riches. And let me just give you guys a little bit of history on why I invited Derek here. In my quest for really getting a good understanding of what I can really recommend as the best gas grill under 1,200, or we can even say round it up to 1,500 in the market to make a recommendation for my magazine. And as a history, I haven't had a gas grill in a couple years since I've moved, and I didn't really feel comfortable recommending the Weber Genesis anymore based on the feedback I was getting from my own Weber dealer. So I reached out to Derek. So without further ado, let me introduce Derek. Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com. Derek is a grilling badass and a grilling expert, and he's here with me today to talk about what the best gas grill is on the market under $1,500. So welcome, Derek. Thanks so much for joining me.
Sure thing, Robyn. Glad to be here.
So Derek, I want to just pick your brain, kind of on the history of gas grills, right? Like I mentioned, Weber had always been my go-to gas grill, and I call it my gateway grill. At about 12 years ago, when I really kind of fell in love with grilling, that was the grill I started on, really kind of by accident. I bought it for he was my boyfriend, now he's my husband. And then I just was like, oh wow, grilling is so fun. Why are more women not doing it, right? And so exactly. And that grill is actually still around. I had given it to, he's actually a hunting buddy of my husband's, and it was a Weber Genesis. And I had another one, but as I mentioned before, I feel like the quality has gone down on kind of like our old standbys in the market. So this is really what led me to kind of do a deep dive into really who's making the best gas grill for the money these days. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, you're not wrong about Weber. I mean, when they first introduced the Genesis back in 1985, it kind of, it took the industry by storm. It was massively successful. And, it very quickly had that reputation of just kind of being bulletproof. They lasted forever. I mean, there are still people out there using a 1985 Weber Genesis because you can just keep it running forever. But, in the interest of keeping down costs or, for whatever reasons, they've gotten a little lighter weight and a little less powerful over time. And so, there are always new iterations of the Genesis. They're always changing the lineup. And it just doesn't kind of have what it used to. It's not as powerful, and it's not as durable as they once were.
And that's what, I bought like 3 different Webers from my Weber dealer back in near Miami, where I used to live. And what he was telling me was that a lot of the components that used to be steel, they had switched to plastic, but then just slapped a longer warranty on it. So even when I did and so he actually told me he wasn't even selling a lot of the ones he used to because he just didn't believe in the quality anymore. And he was getting people, complaining and things. And we're talking about the gas grill. He was telling me that the kettle is still the kettle. So, when I did a survey just on my Instagram to people and asking what their favorite gas grill is, a lot of people said Weber Genesis or, the Weber. But what I'm thinking is the Weber from 10 years ago is there, or even 20 years ago, they're still going strong, but the ones you buy right now are not the same.
Well, yeah. And I mean, my issue really is that they've kind of made them less powerful over time. I mean, you could fire up, your Genesis and it would get very, very hot and you could do, really good high temperature grilling on it. And they just kind of started lowering the heat output on it. And the reason for doing that is high temperatures mess with the metal. It causes metal fatigue and the components begin to kind of corrode and break down. And so if you're making the components a little lighter weight, if you're thinning the metals a little bit, then you kind of need to start bringing the temperature down so you can still kind of hit that warranty target. I mean, the Genesis is a 10-year warranty on absolutely everything, but not rust, corrosion, or normal wear and tear. But if a component fails, they'll replace it. But right. That's just kind of it. And by making them a little less powerful, and that's when we're talking about grilling and that sort of stuff, you want that power, you want that high temperature, and if you're not getting that kind of performance, you probably ought to start looking somewhere else.
And that's an interesting point, because performance is, that's why you get the gas grill. You want to get there quickly,
yeah.
And I believe I know we did a previous iteration of this and I lost the file, so shame on me, but I feel like you said something about having a hard time getting it above 500 degrees or something like that.
Yeah, it's, so I had a Genesis, probably a 2000 model. I'd had it for a very, very long time. And I got a much newer one. I think when they changed then they really changed the versions around 2014 or so. And I put them side by side and I fired them up, all burners. They're both 3-burner units. They're both, pretty much the same grill. And just timed how long it took for them to reach 500 degrees. And the old one did it in like 12 minutes. And there was a slight wind and it was kind of a cool day. And the new one, well, I kind of just turned it off after 20 minutes because it was just kind of getting close, but it was just struggling to reach that kind of temperature. And, when you start talking about, putting a real high intensity sear on a steak, you're talking temperatures over 600, 700 degrees. And it needs help to get there.
Wow.
You gotta do some tricks. And so, that was kind of the thing that made me go, going the wrong direction here a little bit, guys.
That's a bummer. I hate hearing that because I've always really wanted to support them, especially, they're an American company, hardly anyone makes any components in America, we know, but still, I feel them as like a heritage brand. So yeah, it's disappointing.
Genesis is a 100% Chinese manufactured product now.
Yeah.
So, it's been a slow transition, component pieces, bits of this, some of the lower price models. And then as of about 2 years ago, the entire product line was outsourced. So
interesting. So you don't have to feel bad about not supporting that. They're barely American. So at that point, so if you were going to get a grill, let's just cap it at 1,500. What would some of your better options be for a gas grill? Because I feel like, obviously people have a ton of options on the market, but still a lot of people I talk to that are kind of occasional grillers are going to get that gas grill. So what are some of your favorites in the market?
Well, in that price range, I really like Napoleon.
Okay.
So Canadian company. And there's a lot of global sourcing in that. Now, for a long time, Napoleon was known for making a gas grill that was very similar to the Weber Genesis in the way it was structured and built. And so some people kind of considered it a knockoff, but the Napoleon grills have stayed powerful and they've maintained kind of better quality component pieces where the Genesis has kind of been coming down. So, and Napoleon has a huge line. You can go from their lower end units in the $700-800 range to, some of their, the Prestige Pro line. I think you had a picture of it up on there. The thing's got like, what is it got, like 10 knobs on the front of it. It's just loaded with accessories and all that sort of stuff. Wow. So, but it has that cast aluminum main tub that never corrodes, and then it's got a good burner system, stainless steel cooking grates, and they have a lot of great features. They have a really optional on some, standard on others. It's an infrared side burner, which is just phenomenal for like grilling steaks and stuff on, great display. And, and as you're showing there, it's, they've got that new Phantom series limited edition grill that came out this year. That's pretty cool looking.
The blue knobs are pretty sexy.
Yeah. Oh, and they're blue when they're off, they're red when they're on.
Ah,
so
like,
yeah. So you can tell which burners are on just by looking at it. But yeah, so Napoleon's, it's a good quality product. It's got a lot more power to it. And Napoleon's an old company. They've been around they've been making gas grills, I think, longer than Weber has.
They're Canadian, right? They're Canadian?
Yeah.
Okay. Or North American.
Yeah. The far north. Yeah. And they do a lot of their manufacturing and stuff still out of Canada. But it's a great, it's a really great grill. And, it matches up so much with kind of what the promise of Genesis is. It's got all the convenience factors. They have a lot more, accessories, a lot more features that you can get. Napoleon, you can get the rear rotisserie burners. You can get a different variety of side burners, stuff that you don't really find in the Weber line. So they have a lot to offer, and it's a really great, well-built grill.
So it's interesting you mentioned them, because when I did reach out to Dean, who's kind of, like I mentioned, that he's my egg Weber dealer that I have always gotten everything from. And I said, well, then if you're not doing Webers anymore, who are you recommending? And he said, Napoleon. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. It's kind of like, it's great to see they still make stuff on this continent, and they can stand, and they still have the quality that you would hope that, like what we used, like you said, what you used to see with Weber. So, okay. So now we know we have some options. And I think something we mentioned in our first call was that they have a funny naming system. Maybe what might confuse people is that they have like a gazillion different product lines all named after royalty.
Yeah, that's Broil King, which is kind of like my second pick.
That might be a good segue. So
yeah, so it's a good segue.
Okay, good segue.
So Broil King is another Canadian company. I think they're about 70, 80 miles away from where Napoleon is.
Something in the water there, I guess, huh?
Yeah. And, one of the things about both these companies is that being that they're Canadian, they're huge advocates of winter grilling. So they build their grills on the idea that they can do high temperature cooking in a Canadian winter. So you do see a lot more power out of them. And as far as, Broil King's naming conventions, they're very tied to the royalty thing. So the models are Sovereign and Imperial and Crown and Regal and Baron and
that's funny.
Yeah. So they always have those sort of names, and they have I argue they have too many models. I mean, they've probably 40 models of grills. I mean, it's just
they do have a lot. Look at this.
Yeah. And there's as many as 8 models in each one of those areas. So I think there's like 5 or 6 Sovereigns, and there's 3 Crowns, and so you can go from a 2-burner to a 5-burner. They have optional rotisserie burners. They have a variety of side burner options. They're real big on rotisserie, so a lot of their models already come with rotisserie kit and all that sort of stuff. And they're very powerful. As a matter of fact, it's probably been about 7 years ago, Consumer Reports actually listed them as a do not buy, because in their testing they'd melted one. And so Broil King went in and they made some modifications to the design and changed stuff, but they didn't take the power level down. They just upped the metal. So they could still do, those sort of high temperature grilling. But yeah, it's like, it was literally kind of cited for just being way too hot as a problem. So yeah, real powerful line. It doesn't have quite the build quality that you get out of Napoleon. They're a little lighter weight in some areas. It's a combination of steel and cast aluminum. But where Napoleon has kind of the solid cast aluminum main body section, Broil King has end cast aluminum pieces built into kind of a steel frame. So, I mean, it's still a very durable product, and it's another company the parent company, Onward Manufacturing, is over 100 years old, and it's still held by the same family from then. So the people that are running it now are the great grandchildren of the people who literally founded it.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's
they
great. I like
make things. Their grills are actually made in America, right?
Yeah, they have 3 North American factories, 2 of which are in the United States. Now they do import some products from China, but for the most part, I think most of their gas grills are domestically made. And when you start moving above $1,000, you're looking at U.S. made gas grills, and very much so. Where a lot of companies will like, yeah, we make our gas grills in the United States, but we buy our cooking grates and our igniters and our burners and fasteners and all of those sort of things, you know, on the global market space. They actually make a lot of their components in-house, and they're nice people. It's a good company. I've done like factory tours with them, and you know, you're talking to somebody who's working on the assembly line, and their dad is running the paint shop.
Oh, wow.
Like, they have a very family-oriented structure in the way they run their business. So I really
love
like that. Yeah.
You don't see that much anymore. I think that's great. And I did talk to them for the magazine. I was just trying to really do my due diligence, because I felt like if I put my stamp of approval in a magazine, it better be a damn good grill, you know? And so, which is why I wanted to talk to you about this. So, and you're right. I mean, I talked to them, and, you know, I love Canadians anyway. They're so polite, but you can tell they you know, they keep it in the family, and they know their stuff. And there's some things you talked about, like components. Like, I don't think people realize, like, if you just go out and buy a grill at Home Depot for $300, most likely, if you keep it 5 years, I mean, great, right? But
yeah.
and I feel like, you know, especially I live in like the most humid environment in the world. I could be my own testing center for grills, because things, definitely, you know, things rust pretty much immediately, you know? So if it doesn't start rusting like within the first year or even the first 6 months, I'm like, wow, that's noteworthy. So that's really good to hear. So if I know we talked about this one as well, what would maybe your third choice be? I think this is like kind of a vintage grill, I'd call it.
Yeah. So I think my third pick is Modern Home Products, or MHP, and they are kind of the inheritors of the people who actually invented the backyard gas grill.
Love it.
The first gas grills were produced by gas companies. You know, your local gas utility would be like, hey, for an extra $1 a month, we'll put a gas grill in your backyard and hook it up to your natural gas line, so you use more of our product, sort of thing. And out of that came these old companies, one of which was a company known as CharmGlow, and they kind of got sold off and to someone else, and then it fell apart. But the people who had been running that company kind of came back and said, hey, we want to go back to making gas grills, but they couldn't get the name back. So they changed the name to Modern Home Products, which is what it's been since the 70s. But these are this incredible kind of throwback to that time, because, you know, the gas company's thinking was, if we're going to give you a gas grill for practically nothing, it has to last forever, because we can't be replacing them and, you know, make any money on this scheme of ours. So, you know, heavy cast aluminum bodies, they, you know, put in these kind of like forever burners, and that's what this grill is. That's what Modern Home Products is. A direct descendant of that kind of thinking of, we don't have repeat customers because they still have the one they bought 30 years ago.
Wow.
Which is, you know, in this day and age is not, you know, it's a bit of a counterintuitive business model, but you know, I mean, if you're looking for a gas grill that you're probably never going to have to replace, this is the way to go. And, you know, they still do it old school style. You can get one of these grills on a mounted post that you put in a concrete block in your backyard, and it just sits on the post. It, you know, I mean, they have multiple variety of mounting options for them. So
I love the look and feel of it too. Like, I love anything kind of vintage, old school. So it speaks to me.
And they're, you know, they're good and heavy and solid, and, you know, There's no rattling, no shaking. And one of the things I like about MHP is, and this one I always recommend, they have an optional what they call Sear Magic cooking grate, which is anodized aluminum. So it's very similar to the grill grates that all of the competition steak cooks use. They conduct heat at an incredible speed. I mean, it's just like, because it's like heavy, dense aluminum, the heat just goes straight through it. So it heats up very, very quickly. It transfers that heat very quickly. It gives you great grill marks. And again, it's never going to disintegrate. I mean, I'm sure you've got a bunch of grill grates, and I'm sure that at no point have you gone, well, this one's wearing out.
Yeah, no.
Because they don't. They never wear out. But, you know, they'll last for decades.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And so I tell people, you know, if you're going to get the MHP grill, get the Sear Magic grill grates. That probably doesn't even change the price of it. It has incredible performance. And that, again, another grill built for very high temperature cooking. It puts out a lot of power. It sears incredibly well. But, I mean, they're a simple grill. Frequently, they're 2 burners, not a lot of accessories. You can get a side burner if you want. You can put a rotisserie kit in it if you want, but it's kind of a pure grill. It's just like,
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Sometimes, like, let's not overcomplicate things here, you know?
Yeah.
And that grill, you're going to be able to pass to your grandkids, it sounds like.
And exactly. And that's, you know, I mean, that's what I hear is it's people like, yeah, I got this from my dad who had it for 30 years and now I've had it for 10 and I need a new knob because it fell off and got lost. Do you know where I can find one? I'm like, actually, yeah, because they have all of the parts for every model they've ever built.
I love that.
So,
and there's something to be said about the kind of grills where you can replace the parts. I mean, that's in my mind. If I'm going to get a gas grill, which is sort of why I always thought of Weber, because you could replace the parts, but I'm sure you can with Napoleon and Broil King as well.
Yeah, you can.
But that's the thing, is like, you don't want to get a grill that you're going to have to throw away every couple of years. You want a grill that you can keep and maintain and replace parts on.
Well, and, you know, like with these 3 companies, and Weber included, the replacement parts aren't astronomically expensive. If you go to, like, you know, like you're saying, the Home Depot or one of the, you know, big box stores, and you buy the $400 gas grill, price the burners. They're like $150 to replace them, which makes you go, I'll just buy a new grill. I'm not spending that kind of money to fix up this thing I've only had for 3 or 4 years for half the price.
Yeah.
You know, what I originally paid for it. So yeah, I mean, with Modern Home Products, with Napoleon, the parts are actually very reasonable because they don't see the parts as a profit model. You know, some of these companies, particularly the brand names you've never heard of, you know, the brands that only last for a year or 2, they're in the business of, hey, you're going to have to buy parts and they're going to cost you a lot of money.
Yep. They're making money on it.
Yeah.
So, Derek, if money was no object, what gas grill would you choose?
Well, if money was absolutely no object, I would get the Kalamazoo 3-burner. It's the KT750. It's currently running $28,000.
Ooh, just a mere $28,000.
Well,
that's the Rolls Royce.
Money's no object. These are literally, when you buy one of these, they'll talk to you about kind of what you're interested in, and then they'll go make it.
Oh, wow. So it really is like Rolls Royce of grills.
Yeah. And everyone that works on it signs the front panel on the inside. Oh. So when you open the door, you have the signatures of everyone who worked on your grill.
That's cool.
So,
I like that.
But you know, you're paying a lot of money. The cooking grates on it are 1/4-inch laser cut cast stainless steel plate.
Oh, wow.
You'll need a friend to help you take them out if you want. I mean, they're incredibly heavy. The entire thing is 100% high grade stainless steel, and you can get it in marine grade stainless steel too. So for your house in Florida, that's the option you're going to want to go for.
Yeah. Out in the swamp.
Yeah. And that is 100% made in Kalamazoo, Michigan, with the exception of the brass burners that are cast just over the border in Canada. because it was the only place they could find that would do guaranteed 100% lead-free brass.
Wow.
And those burners, I think, are 27 pounds a piece. I mean, that's how much they weigh.
Wow.
And you know, this is the grill that survives the apocalypse. You know, it's just like,
which we might need coming up the next couple years. You never know.
You never know. You never know. There's always that possibility. But you know, if money's no object, that's the grill. It's the ultimate luxury grill.
It sounds amazing. And actually, a friend of mine who's like a metal welder, I think he mentioned the Kalamazoo, which would make sense because he deals with metal all day, and that's what he would want. So, well, and just before we jump, I just wanted to see, are there any trends you're seeing related to gas grilling specifically, or things like related to accessories that you're seeing in the market? You know, I'm always kind of seeing other stuff because there's so many other kinds of grills in the market, but is there anything specific to gas grills that you're seeing that we might want to take a look at?
Well, you know, there's been this explosion in these flat top grills in the last couple of years, the backyard griddles and stuff. And you know, a lot of these gas grills have optional griddles that you can put inside of them. So, and that's kind of, so a lot of these companies are looking at the flat tops and going, well, one, we've already had this, but two, can we accessorize this better? Can we make a better griddle section accessory? And, you know, I think that's the smarter option to go with myself, because flat top grilling is a lot of fun. You can do a lot of stuff with it, but there's also stuff you don't want to do that way. Yeah. And instead of having two gas powered grills on your back, you know, in your backyard, you could have one and then just have the optional feature. So there's a lot more of that kind of coming in the pipeline. But, you know, the last year and a half has been insane. And many of these companies are literally struggling to keep product on the floor. Gas grill sales are up 40% year over year. And so, but I think that like in the next year, I think we're going to see a lot more options in those directions, you know, a lot more of the griddle sections, the replaceable things. But, you know, like you're saying, people buy gas grills because they want that convenience. They want the simplicity of it. They want to be able to go out, they want to turn a knob, push a button, and then come out and cook in 10 minutes. So, you know, it's an established thing. There's not a lot of huge trends in that direction, but we'll see what, you know, what comes down the pike another year or two.
You're right about the griddles though, because those are such a popular style of grill. But if you could do that on your gas grill, to your point, why would you need both? Because at least you can close the lid on a gas grill. You don't have anything to close on a griddle, and you know, and you're going to give yourself a lot more options with a gas grill.
And it's, you know, you don't worry about this so much, but there are people that worry about the fact that they're trying to use their flat top when it's a bit windy in the fall and the leaves are coming down all over the place, or bugs are out everywhere, or, you know, so having the lid is a nice option, I think.
Absolutely. Well, bugs and wind. I need to make a blooper video. I'm making this video in my backyard. It's like the windiest day of the year for the turkey board. My tent flies over while I'm like filming. And then all the audio from my video was shot too, because it was so windy. So I totally get that. So that makes sense. So that's another plus for the gas grill. So Derek, tell everybody where they can find you. So we know you're at DerekRiches.com, and you're obviously, your brain is like an encyclopedia of grill knowledge, which is why I'm so happy to have you on. But where can people find you, and tell us about some of the cookbooks you have? Because speaking of like rotisseries and accessories, I think you have an amazing book about rotisserie grilling as well.
You can find me at DerekRiches.com. You can find me at Derek Riches on every social media platform. I'm there. You know, if you have questions, shoot them to me. I do have a rotisserie book. It came out a couple years ago, and I think it's a great book because it was like, let's make this as global as possible. Let's gather all the recipes from around the world and adapt them into, you know, rotisserie cooking. And I think it's an underappreciated accessory because there really is so much you can do with it, more than just chicken. I mean,
for sure.
We've got recipes for rotisserie chuck roasts, which just phenomenal, because the great thing about rotisserie is it actually retains moisture. It cooks so evenly, and it's kind of a set it and forget it sort of thing. You know, it's as long as you're set up right, You're not going to have any problems. You let it go, come out, you have a great meal. So, you know, and that's just, you know, there's my plug. So
I love it. Well, and I bet you're going to see like a renaissance of people buying your book because a lot of the companies are coming out with rotisserie attachments. And I was even seeing, you know, Kamado Joe makes a rotisserie attachment, but Big Green Egg doesn't. So people have been buying the Kamado Joe one for their Big Green Egg.
Yes,
and I see a lot of people reaching out to me and picking my brain on certain grills just based on the accessories that they offer. So hopefully that will help with your book sales. And I know John Solberg, who's a longtime contributor of my site, highly recommended your book. And so I'm going to buy it because I've been doing rotisserie stuff lately. So,
well, I'll get down that way and I'll autograph it for you.
Yay!
I'll bring a copy of the magazine though, and you can autograph that. So
okay, let's do it. Let's do it. It's been my labor of love. Derek, it was such a pleasure. Like I said, you're an encyclopedia of knowledge, so I appreciate you joining. And we will be doing this more, hopefully. So
yeah, definitely.
So everybody, y'all give Derek a follow on his various channels and check out his website. It's full of info.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Look, I'll end this. I mean.